Nobody believed in her. Not the analysts, not the bookmakers, not the thousands of fans crammed into Manolo Santana Stadium on that Tuesday in Madrid. Alex walked onto that court as a wild card, 20 years old from Manila, carrying a serve that the tennis world had practically written off. And standing across the net was a woman who had literally given birth, fallen to 421st in the world, and clawed her way back to number 11. That's not just a tough draw. That's the universe testing you. And honestly, the first set looked like the universe was winning. But then something shifted. Something cracked wide open. And 2 hours and 27 minutes later, Alex was on her knees in the Madrid clay. Both palms pressed into that red dirt, tears streaming down her face while an entire stadium rose to its feet. So, let's actually break down what happened, because the scoreline doesn't even scratch the surface. Belinda Bencic is one of the most extraordinary comeback stories this sport has ever seen. She stepped away after giving birth to her daughter Bella in April 2024, returned 6 months later, ranked 421st in the world, and rebuilt herself from the ground up match by match, tournament by tournament. By the time Madrid arrived, she was sitting at number 11, sporting a 14-5 record for the season, fresh off a United Cup victory for Switzerland and a deep run at Indian Wells. She didn't just come back to tennis. She came back sharper, calmer, and more dangerous than before. Her footwork immaculate. Her ability to absorb pace and redirect it almost surgical. And at altitude in Madrid, where the thinner air makes the ball fly faster and topspin loses its natural bite. Her game was practically built for those conditions. Stand inside the baseline, pick the ball up early, control the rally without needing to overpower anyone. She was the favorite, and she had earned every bit of it. Alex, on the other hand, arrived on a wild card with a clay record in 2026 that read 1 win, 2 losses. She'd been dismantled by Ayala Fernandez in Stuttgart, 61-64 just weeks before. She'd fallen to Ostapenko the week before that. Her serve, the one structural weakness that's followed her since she turned professional, was still misfiring badly. 7 aces across the entire early season. First serve percentage dipping below 60% in multiple matches. Double faults showing up at rates that would have any coaching staff losing sleep. On paper, this was a mismatch with the ending already written. The first set didn't argue with that narrative. Alex handed it over almost willingly. 3 double faults in the opening 4 games. A break surrendered on a serve that barely cleared the net cord, and Bencic cruising through at 63 without ever leaving second gear. She just waited, watched, let Alex unravel, patient, controlled, lethal. But here's where something quietly crucial started happening. Something nobody in that stadium fully recognized yet. When you win a set because your opponent is essentially beating themselves, there's a subtle trap waiting for you. You stop playing your match. You start reading the game through the lens of their mistakes rather than the engine of your own game. Bencic's court positioning in that first set was slightly deeper than her usual preference. She was absorbing, waiting, perfectly content to let Alex self-destruct. And it worked brilliantly for exactly 35 minutes. But it also meant she never established the inside-the-baseline aggression that had defined her best tennis all season long. She was winning on Alex's terms, which meant she was one tactical shift away from losing control entirely. That shift came at the start of the second set, and it came through Alex's return game. Now, pay close attention here, because this is the tactical heart of everything that followed. Yes, Alex's serve is a genuine problem. At 1.75 m, she doesn't have the natural leverage taller players use to manufacture pace almost effortlessly. Her ball toss drifts. Her second serve sits up like an invitation. These are real, documented limitations, and there's no point dancing around them. But here's what every conversation about her serve completely misses. The flip side of that weakness is a return game that most players on this tour would sacrifice almost anything to have. She reads serve direction before the ball even leaves the racket. Her left-handed forehand generates angles off the return that right-handed players simply cannot replicate from the same position. She takes the ball on the rise with a compact loaded swing that neutralizes incoming pace and immediately puts the server under pressure before the rally has even truly begun. She's trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy since she was 13. Return drills are the foundation of everything built there. Nadal himself constructed one of the greatest careers in tennis history on one single philosophy that the server's supposed weapon could be transformed into their deepest source of anxiety. Alex hasn't just learned that philosophy. She's lived it.in the second set. She started attacking Benic's second serve with a ferocity and precision that had been completely absent in the opener. 2 full steps inside the baseline. Returns driven D. P and heavy into Benic's backhand. Corner, ball after ball, game after game. And this created a compounding problem that grew more serious with every single exchange. Benic's backhand is her more reliable wing but not her more attacking one. When she gets pushed deep and wide to that side, her instinct is to play safe, go back cross-court, neutralize rather than strike. Against most players on tour that's more than enough. But against a left-hander already positioned inside the court and hunting the next ball aggressively, it creates a geometry that slowly, patiently, methodically drags the server further and further out of position until something finally gives. The break came in the 5th game. Bencic served. Alex returned deep to the backhand. Bencic pushed a cautious cross-court reply and Alex stepped around her backhand and cracked a forehand inside out that landed flush on the baseline. You could see it happen in real time. Bencic's demeanor visibly changed. She started bouncing the ball more times before serving. Her eyes drifted to her coaching box. She began reaching for bigger first serves, trying to simply overpower the problem and bypass it altogether. And that state of mind, that pressing, that searching for a solution through sheer force, is precisely what Alex's game is engineered to provoke. When a server starts pressing, the margins tighten, and then the double faults come. Bencic hit 2 in the 7th game alone. The second set went to Alex 64. And just like that, this match had an entirely different heartbeat. The third set was something else altogether. Not elegant, not clean, but genuinely gripping in the way that only high-stakes tennis between 2 players who both desperately need the win can be. Both of them knew exactly what was on the line. For Bencic, dropping this match to an unseeded wildcard on clay would put a real crack in a comeback season that had been building serious momentum since January. For Alex, beating a top 15 player on the surface that had exposed her most brutally and most publicly would completely rewrite every assumption people carried about the ceiling of her game. Those stakes didn't produce cautious tennis. They produced the opposite. 4 breaks of serve in the first 6 games alone. Alex broke. Bencic broke back immediately. Alex broke again. Bencic broke back again. It felt almost lawless, driven entirely by the fact that neither player had a reliable enough serve to provide any real shelter. Alex's first serve percentage in the third set dropped to 51%. Bencic sat at 54%. Both of them were leaking and the match came down purely to who could manage the damage more effectively under mounting pressure. In that environment, small edges start carrying enormous weight. Alex has played on these Madrid courts before. She knows how this particular clay moves slightly faster than Rome or Roland Garros with a skid that punishes anyone who sets up late. She knows the afternoon wind that swirls unpredictably through the open roof of the Caja Magica. She knows the long shadows that creep across the baseline as evening approaches. Madrid has never been comfortable for her, but it's a familiar kind of uncomfortable. And in a match where both players were struggling to hold serve, that environmental familiarity was worth something no stat sheet will ever find a column for. The decisive moment came in the 9th game. Bencic serving at 45, fighting to hold and push the pressure back onto Alex to serve out the match. It was a long, grinding, tense game full of lead changes. Bencic fought off one break point with the fastest serve of the entire match, 172 km/h. And for a moment it genuinely looked like she might find a way through. Then she double faulted. Another break point. This time, Alex chipped a low return that skidded hard off the clay and stayed stubbornly below Benic's ideal contact zone. The Swiss player reached down and tried to scoop a forehand from well below her knees.